guys, welcome back. And this is going to be the first video in the second outcome of Unit 3. Second outcome is all about human resources management, as you can see there. And this first particular key knowledge 1, is about the relationship between HR management, human resources management, and business objectives. So here for the first time, I'm showing you the study design, the extract from the study design, covering all the key knowledge from this particular outcome. So have a bit of a skim through that and familiarize yourself with what we're going to be looking at in the coming month or so. And this, as always, highlighted here for you is what this particular video is going to be focused on. But before we focus on that highlighted part, let's just do a quick introduction to this outcome. So basically, this outcome as a whole covers how employees can be managed effectively to ensure that we achieve our business objectives. Fundamentally, everything we talk about here comes back to that one point, okay? Managing employees. Now, you will find that this is a much more cohesive outcome than the previous one was, 3.1 Business Foundations. If you go back and look at that one, or even looked at the kind of the topic headings or the key knowledge dot points, there wasn't really much kind of cohesion between them. There's a lot of random stuff all kind of thrown in there. You know, Business Foundations, that was the idea, just to give you some kind of some base level understanding of some fundamental business concepts. But the topic as a whole didn't really have a focus, whereas this one absolutely does. Managing employees absolutely has a focus. So everything kind of links back into that. So that's what I mean by this one being a kind of a more cohesive outcome. And I think from that point of view, kind of more interesting, and it kind of flows a bit more than the last one did as well. So in some ways, I think this one is a little easier to follow. Also, with this particular outcome, every single key knowledge dot point comes with a script. Remember, the script being taken into account what the actual study design says within each key knowledge dot point, so that we kind of don't go off on our own tangent and start making stuff up, which is not going to score you marks when you're answering questions. So this here, the bullet points you see here, is just summarizing that study design page, if you like. And we can see we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. So not in this particular video. This video is just a real introduction to the topic, and I'll say talking about the relationship between this stuff and achieving objectives. But after this point, we're going to be getting into some motivation theories, and the study design actually mentions 3 theories, because in real life there are many more. Motivation strategies, and it actually mentions 5. And again, in real life, or if you Googled motivation strategies, you're not going to see those 5, but these are the 5 that the study design mentions. These are the 5 we need to learn. Training, there's 2 options: performance management. There are 4 methods, and so on and so forth, as you see here. So this is very much a script-led outcome. You need to be aware of the script within each of these key knowledge dot points, and make sure that your answers are being drawn only from within this script. And of course, if you're making notes from these videos, I only cover the script as always, so that would be a given anyway. But just putting that out there, just so you, again, just re-emphasizing the importance of this idea of sticking to the script. Okay, now back to this particular key knowledge, the relationship between human resource management and business objectives. Okay, so in other words, what that's saying is, what is the connection? What is the link between those 2 things? Okay, human resource management here, business objectives here. What's the connection? What's the link? What impact does the one have on the other? That's essentially what that means, the relationship between them. Now, a very simple answer to that question would be, if employees are managed effectively, they're going to feel motivated and able to perform at their best. If the majority of your employees are performing at their best, the performance of the business overall lifts or increases, and therefore there is more chance of meeting business objectives. So think of it like a sports team. If all of your team are playing well, so if everybody rocks up on game day and they're feeling motivated and pumped to do their best, they then perform at their best, then there's more chance that overall the team is going to perform better, and there's more chance that they're going to win the game. Just exactly the same thing. So you can see what we did there with that sentence is we made a series of steps, okay, to get from one to the other. Okay, so we started with managing employees effectively. If that happens, then your employees are getting motivated, they're going to perform better. And then the next step is if they're performing better, the overall performance of the business lifts. And then the next step, if that happens, is more chance of you meeting business objectives. So basically, if you were asked a question, that exact question, what is the relationship between human resource management and business objectives? And that question has been asked before. That actually there is a really solid answer. It's not the only answer you could provide, but that is a really solid answer to that actual question. But we're going to take it a little bit further because questions could go off different tangents. Now, remember back to outcome 1 and key knowledge 2. So right back at the beginning of the course, we looked at business objectives. And the study design mentioned the 7 business objectives. So these are the ones that you've made notes on that you see right in front of you there. Okay, so what we're going to do is link managing employees effectively to the achievement of each of these objectives, just in case you're asking a question, because these are in the study design, let's focus on these ones. So let's try and relate what we're doing here to each of the objectives individually. Okay, so we're going to look at how managing employees effectively can help us achieve each of those that you see in those dot points in front of you. Now, we're just going to make one link here because you can make lots and lots of links, but again, we'd be here all day. So I'm just going to provide one link for you to demonstrate how this can be done. So first business objective was to make a profit. So here's how we can make the link between managing employees and achieving that. Okay, so if we successfully and effectively manage our employees, they're going to be happier in the workplace. That means their job satisfaction is going to be high. If that is the case, they're less likely to be absent from work, staff absenteeism, we've mentioned that before, and in the long run, less likely to leave the business, staff turnover, we've also mentioned that before. Both of those things cost the business money, okay? So when a staff member is taking a sickie or leaves the business, whatever, you've got to pay for replacement staff, you've got to pay for recruitment, training up new staff, all that sort of thing. So we look at all this stuff in a bit more detail later, but basically there was a real pretty high cost to staff absenteeism and staff turnover. So if we're reducing these costs by managing our employees effectively, that means more profit. Because obviously in any business, if you reduce the cost, that leads to more profit. So that's just one quite simple way you can make the connection between the first thing, which is managing employees, to where we're trying to get, which is making a profit. So like I said before, it's just like a series of logical steps. This leads to this, which leads to this, which leads to this, which leads to more profit. So we'll do the same thing now for each of the other objectives. So one of them was to increase market share. So again, if we manage our employees effectively, the quality of their work will increase because they're going to be more satisfied. People who are satisfied at work produce better quality work. That should lead to the production of higher quality goods or services, which in turn should lead to higher customer satisfaction. If those gains are being made higher than those of your competitors, market share should also increase accordingly. Because if you're producing higher quality goods and services relative to your competitors, more people are going to jump ship from them and buy from you, which leads to an increase in market share. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. Next one was to improve efficiency. So again, if we are effectively managing our employees, they're going to be more motivated to complete tasks and also to a higher standards. That leads to less errors being made. and work also being produced at a faster rate. That means that productivity and efficiency are both improved. So hopefully by now you're getting the idea of this with each of these things, step by step by step, to get where we need to be. To improve effectiveness. So if we successfully and effectively manage our employees, they're going to have high job satisfaction and therefore be more motivated to achieve their business goals. If that applies to all or most employees, there's a greater chance that the business overall will achieve its goals, hence improving effectiveness. Remember, what improving effectiveness basically means is improving the chance of achieving goals. Effectiveness in business is the ability of the business to achieve its goals. So that makes sense. Fifth one was to fulfill a market need. So once again, if we are effectively managing our employees, again, they're going to have higher job satisfaction. Again, they're going to be more likely to generate and contribute innovative ideas to the business. A business generating innovative concepts is more likely to come up with unique goods and services that fulfill customer and therefore market needs. Again, step, get to the end. Fulfill a social need. Once again, if we successfully manage our employees, they're going to have high. See, a lot of this comes to employees having a higher job satisfaction. You see how important it is for employees to have high job satisfaction? It's kind of the starting point. If your employees are happy at work, so much of the other stuff that needs to happen to make a business successful just kind of flows on from that. So yeah, they have a higher job satisfaction. Therefore, they're more likely to support any business initiatives that are being introduced. This means initiatives aimed at assisting the community or maybe reducing the impact on the environment are more likely to be successful, therefore fulfilling that social need. And finally, meeting shareholder expectations. So that was the final business objective that we covered all the way back in 3.1.2. So if we effectively manage our employees, they are going to have higher job satisfaction. They're going to be motivated to work harder and to a higher standard. That means the business should produce high quality products or services, which in turn should lead to greater sales. Increasing sales should contribute to an increase in profits, which means a higher return on investment to shareholders, which is a key expectation that they would have. So again, that one actually really demonstrates, I think, more, I don't know, maybe because of the language, this need to kind of round it off, round this statement or this sentence or your response off with that coming back to the actual objective. So that a key expectation that they would have, because we're talking about shareholder expectations. So hopefully that makes some sense. This video covered a bit of an introduction to the outcome, but then a good solid discussion there on the relationship between HR management and business objectives, initially overall, but then breaking it down to the business objectives. So linking this back to the previous key knowledge dot point from the previous outcome. All right, that's it for this one, guys. I will see you in the next one. Cheers for now.